Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Little Marketing Podcast, where we provide small business owners across the globe with smart and tangible marketing advice for their small business. Now, I apologize we didn't do a podcast last week. I was feeling a bit off, but we're back into it today, and I'm excited to bring you another episode to give you some points for you to start marketing your business today. So one of the biggest things I hear a lot from small business owners is trying to understand the correlation between the marketing that they're doing and the return on investment. Now, of course, you should be expecting some type of return on investment on anything that you're doing within your business, whether it's accounting, marketing, investment in your hardware and software. At the end of the day, you're making that investment so that at some point there's a return on that investment in your business. And marketing should be no different. But the way that you look at your return on investment in your marketing is something that I want to talk about today, and a few things that you can put in place also to make sure that you give your business the best chance of actually achieving that return on investment and the mindset around what return on investment should look like. Now, as we talk about return on investment today, I'm probably going to use the acronym ROI, return on investment, just to make it a bit easier, and it's obviously return on investment's a bit of a mouthful. So let's get into today's episode. So the first thing that I want to talk about is positioning. Now, for those that have listened to little marketing podcasts and shorts over the last couple of years, you would know that I ram home a lot about positioning. And the reason I do that is that it's so important. So from a return on investment perspective, you need to have positioning. So for those that haven't listened, go and listen to some of the videos. There's heaps out there that we've done regarding positioning. But to give you a quick snapshot, positioning is all about positioning your business and your brand in the minds of your customers that is different to the competition, that eliminates the competition, or where there is the least amount of competition. Now, why is that so important? We live in such an over-communicated and cluttered world. And so as human beings, we can only take in so much information. Whether it's billboards, TVs, emails, social media, we are inundated with communication, whether it's by businesses and brands or just people that we know. So you need to find a way as a business to cut through all of that over communication, I should say, and all of that clutter. So the best way to do that is to really find a position in the minds of your customers. And the reason we say minds is because marketing is a battle of the mind, and there's so much going on in humans' minds. Again, we live in that cluttered world. So by positioning your business and your brand in the minds of your customers in a particular way will give your business and your brand the best chance to stand out. So why is that helpful when it comes to your ROI? Well, if you are doing all this marketing and you're doing social media and you're doing emails and you're doing AdWords and whatever the activity that you're doing, if in that marketing and that communication you are not communicating that positioning and that point of difference, and I'll use those two words interchangeably today. If you are not communicating that positioning clearly in your communication, then you're gonna sound like every other business in your industry and sound like all of your competitors as well. And that's what you don't want to do. So you will need to differentiate yourself from your competition, and the best way to do that is to create a positioning. Now, return on investment. Now, we're not just talking about money from an investment, but we're talking about time, money, energy, and skills. You are investing those four key resources, and they're also not just key resources, but they're also key pain points for small business owners. So if you're investing time, money, energy, and skills in those resources in your business, you want to make sure that you are getting a return on investment. And if your communication isn't communicating anything that is different, and you're not communicating what your positioning is, what you do, who you do it for, where you do it, and why you're a little bit different, it's going to make it hard for your current and potential customers and clients to differentiate you from your competition. And why should they choose you over the competition without some type of point of difference or positioning? And so that's why having a positioning is critical to the success of a return on investment. So no positioning generally means no return on investment. So really, really key as a first starting point in your business. Now, that positioning bit is the first part that we here at Little Marketing work with our clients on to help create that positioning. We go through a whole process with them to really define and understand that. And not every business we can help. There are some businesses that deal with widgets and they're $2 items. That's not the type of client that we work for, but a client that is looking for long-term sustainable success, who has a higher price ticket item. They are the ideal client that we work with, and we work with them to really create a positioning and a point of difference for them. Now, in saying that, regardless of the type of business that you are, positioning is so important. I was just talking about the type of clients that we consult and execute with. So that's the first thing I want you to think about, positioning. The second thing that we hear a lot about and debate a lot in the media is kind of brand building activities versus lead generation activities. Now, for me, marketing has changed so much in the last couple of years that the brand building and the lead-based activities are kind of very much intertwined. And regardless of whether you think it's a brand building activity or whether you think it's a lead generation activity, for me, they're all kind of intertwined. And without having a credible business and brand, you can do whatever lead generation activities you want. But if your brand doesn't have some type of significance, doesn't have a point of difference, doesn't have trust and credibility, then no one is going to buy from you. And chances are, if you haven't had some credibility around your business and your brand, then the lead generation is not going to work in the first place anyway. So for me, those two types of activities need to be working simultaneously, hand in hand. And what's to say, and who am I to say what a lead generation activity is versus what a brand building activity is? Like I said, they're very much intertwined. When I think of brand building, though, I think about building trust and credibility in your brand and communicating that positioning and point of difference. And so that's the key with the brand building. But at the same time, if you're doing lead generation activities, you want to be still communicating that positioning and that point of difference. So we come back to point number one, why positioning and point of difference is so important. So brand building, lead generation, for me, they're all very much intertwined. Without trust and credibility from a brand building perspective, then you can do whatever lead generation activities you want, but it's going to be harder to get those inquiries if there is no credibility and trust behind your business and behind your brand. And because there are so many ways to market your business, whether it's videos on YouTube or writing a book or doing a social media post or doing an SEO campaign or doing an AdWords campaign, like there's so many activities, and that's why I feel like the lines are a little bit blurred with brand building and lead generation. It's about just doing a whole lot of activities to see what works and what doesn't. But the brand building and the credibility piece is so important, because without that, you can do whatever lead generation activities you want, but chances are they're not going to work. Okay, third key point that I want to talk about is the mindset that you need to have as a small business owner when it comes to return on investment and what that actually looks like and the time around that. So businesses are not built on overnight success. They're built on brand credibility. They're built on good financial management. They're built on good marketing. They're built on good leadership. They're built on good teams. There's lots of elements that make up a successful business. And all of those things take time to build. So if you are looking for a shortcut or a magic pill when it comes to your marketing, and you just want to drive new clients and drive customers without having done the solid foundations in terms of building your brand and credibility and trust and building a good team and structure around the processes and systems that you have, then chances are your business is going to fail in the short term. They say that 25% of businesses that start today won't be around in 12 months' time, and 65% of businesses that start today won't be around in 3 years' time. And that's a really scary number and statistic, and it's because people believe that business is super easy. Becoming a business owner and being a successful business owner over a long term isn't easy, and it's not for everybody. A lot of people think they can just start a business and it's going to be successful because they have a technical ability. Maybe they're a good carpenter or a good engineer, whatever it might be. But that doesn't equate into being a good business owner, because they go from a job with a guaranteed income every week or every month. They know what they're going to get paid, and then they go into running a business. They've never managed finances before. They've never done marketing before, and they wonder why the business crumbles so quickly. So my point of that is you're going to make a million mistakes along the way in building your business, and no doubt within marketing, you're going to make a million mistakes, but it's about having a mindset that long-term success is the only way that's going to help with your business. If you want short-term, quick wins, magic pills, then I hope that you don't fail. But what we've seen is that though that short-term mindset always fails. And that's not just in business, but that's with everyone. It's like people wanting a quick win with their diet or their health routines, that go on a crazy diet, and they want quick wins, and then a month later they're still back on the couch eating chocolate. Like, you need to have something that is sustainable and that you can build up over time. And the fourth key area is about just taking action. You can't expect to just sit at your desk or sit at home and wait for your phone to ring, or the emails or the inquiries or the sales to come in. You need to be out there hassling and hustling to get those revenue and sales through the door, because marketing isn't going to work for you on day one, but being out there, having coffees, going, meeting people, sending emails to people, introducing yourself, going to networking events, like being on the ground and speaking to people is going to be a best way for you to get started and get taking action. If you just think about this, if you're taking action, if you're going having coffees, you're doing networking events, you're sending emails, you're calling people, and you're doing all these kind of pieces of action every day versus just sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring, you know that those that are taking action are those that have a better chance of success. And that's not just in marketing, but it's any part of business or any part in life. If you're making change and you're taking action, then I always say that action creates momentum. So you need to take the action in your business and in your marketing and in your life, regardless of what it is that we're talking about, whether it's your food, your nutrition, your finances, marketing, your business, whatever it might be. It's about just having the mindset of getting up every day and taking action, because action creates results. And remember, it's a long-term slog with the actions. There's no short-term wins. It's about just building that momentum and being willing to go the long haul in your business. Because that then comes back to the expectations of return on investment. If you think that it's going to all happen without taking any action, then you're dreaming, because without taking action, there's going to be no results. So it's about making sure that you get that action happening. So if we think of the four key areas that we spoke about today, so first up, positioning, no return on investment. Secondly, the lines are blurred between brand building and lead generation. You need to have credibility and trust behind your business and your brand, so that when people do find you, they choose you. One of the biggest reasons that people choose you over others is trust, and that you've communicated more and clearly than them. Thirdly, it's having a long-term sustainable mindset around the business, no short-term wins, no magic pills. And fourth, it's about just taking action today to make sure that you build your business and your brand over time in order to drive revenue, increase that profit, and really make a success of your business. So I hope you got lots out of today's episode, where we speak about a return on investment. Just take action. As always, subscribe to all of our channels, give us a rating and review, and please share this podcast with any small business owner who you think maybe needs a bit of a kick up the bum to get their business and their marketing going and shift their mindset a little bit to achieve long-term success for their business. So thanks everyone. We'll see you back next week.
Please note that all the information provided on this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to be specific advice to your individual situation. Please be sure to engage a professional for a customized approach to your business and personal circumstances.